No. Simulations ultimately depend on feedback. One of the biggest problems that I see with people using simulations is that they treat it as some kind of sideshow to what their real teaching is about. That I've got to the end of my module, I can't think of anything else to do, let's let them play a game, and we don't really connect it at all to anything else that they've done. That's slightly over-characterising it, but in some cases not too much. The key part of a simulation is not that we give students just the experience of trying out different roles, of exploring scenarios that we can't communicate easily elsewhere. It's also about bringing back that knowledge into their wider learning, both within the module but also within their wider program of studies. Now that requires us then to think very carefully about feedback. What is it we want to focus on? I suggest that generically there are three main elements. On the one hand, there is the actors who are involved. Who are the people who talk? What do they do? How do they think? How do they articulate their points of view? That's the first one. Secondly, there are the processes of interaction. How do they interact with each other? What are the dynamics in the simulation that allow us to get some kind of grip on those wider processes? And then thirdly, we need to be thinking about the outcomes. What's the simulation produce at the end? Maybe we're looking at a document or an agreement or having some kind of vote or I don't know what. But those three elements, actors, processes, outcomes, are at the fundamentally level the key elements within a simulation that involves multiple people. Now, we need to be able to give feedback on that. We need students not simply to say, that was fun, I'll walk away from that and say that was very enjoyable, but rather we need to make sure that we leave time immediately after a session or in an adjacent session to say, okay, what did we actually get from that? How can we connect that to the lecture that I gave you 2 weeks before? Or how can I connect that to the modules that I know you've done in previous years or this year? So there has to be some kind of engagement on your part as an instructor, that you can't simply say, I'm off to the pub, I'm going to let you go and play your game, let me know how it goes. Instead, you need to be there, you need to be around the room, you need to be observing the different kinds of elements, taking notes. Maybe that means making video or taking photos or having some way of capturing electronic interactions. All of those kind of things are important. And the more and more the game expands from a simple starting point, the more important those aspects become.